Alrighty. Alright, yeah, I got a good one for you.
Hello?
My daughter Brittany goes to school with your daughter Taylor.
Yeah.
And apparently Taylor's been bullying my daughter, saying stuff to her, putting stuff up on the internet.
My daughter wouldn't do that, so.
Okay. So the first thing this man, even though this is a fictional scenario, first thing he did wrong is he talked to the woman, right? Now here's the thing, right? If I'm a father and husband and my son or, well, actually I'm going to approach it differently. If my daughter is being bullied, right? First thing I'm going to do is talk to the father. Now he might respond the same way as the woman, right? Now, a reasonable man would say, oh, I'm going to go beat the shit out of my son or daughter, right? But then that son or daughter is going to blame the kid that they were initially bullying, and the bullying will become much worse. And then, by giving a courtesy talk to the parent of your kid's bully, your kid just ends up killing themselves, right? I mean, that's just typically what happens. So, the best thing you can do is challenge the father to a duel, right? If he's a good father, he'll accept, and it might overwhelm the kid. Be like, I didn't think that would bring much heat to the family, because here's the thing, right? The mother's gonna be pissed, at the husband. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Um, you know, and then she's gonna scold. There's nothing like a good scolding from a mother. She's gonna scold the kid, being like, "You just brought your bullshit from the school to the home, right?" Now, granted, in modernity, most fathers would not accept the duel, but here's the thing: there is a good scenario here. Imagine beating the fuck out of the father, right? And the son or daughter sees that bullying a kid, as a direct result, led to one of their parents being fucked up. They'll just feel ashamed, because whether they admit it or not, look up to their parents. And if one of their parents comes back, not looking good, that's going to fuck with them, right? That's going to make them weaker. So then your kid, when they beat the shit out of the other kid, well, that they're already going to be at a disadvantage, right? Because they saw what your father did, right? Oh, absolutely. Now, realistically, what's probably going to happen is he's just going to, he's a liberal. He's going to say, oh, I'll go talk to him. But then the bullying, again, will just get worse for your kid, because they'll be like, wow, what a fucking pussy. You made your dad, do this for you or whatever. That's typically if it's a guy. I don't know. Women are a strange type of thing that I'm not fully sure about. I'm not sure about how the interaction will go between the daughters, but yeah, I'm just trying to, I've stood up for my cousin. I've stood up for other people's kids, and I stopped doing that. Like, if I see my friend's kid getting bullied, I'm going to let it happen, because when you try to make the situation better, you only make it worse. You see a little boy being bullied by another little boy, all you're going to do is turn that little boy into a baby, into an infant, right? If you at the very least, at the very best rather, give that kid helpful advice, right? That kid's going to become a man, right? This bullying is an initiation into manhood. I don't know about womanhood. That's beyond me, right? But my point is, I'm not going to talk to the mother, right? Because that just goes against my social etiquette, and that could be seen as intimidation, right? Because she's far more weaker than me, right? And it's an insult to the man, right? Because if I confront someone's wife, in nature, that man's always supposed to protect her, right, from other men, So when you talk to, even if the man's liberal and he's like, women can do the same thing men can do, but better, that's a man who has no pride, who's dead inside, right? If I talk to the woman, right, about the issue with the kids, that is essentially the same as me having sex with her, and that might not sound like that makes sense, but he's feeling cuckolded, right? Because, you know, if I like that's the ultimate disrespect, right? Why if my kid is bullying another person's kid, right? And the father comes and talks to my wife instead of me, what the fuck, right? Like why would you do that? That's fucking disgusting. I don't even really talk to my one of my best friend's wives. I don't really talk to her unless he's in the same room, right? Because I protect my woman, and if there's some guy, right, talking to my woman, I'm not around, I have failed her. My primary role in nature is to protect her because women are weak, you know? And men can be very dangerous, right? And that's a good thing if you're dangerous for her, not against her, right? So automatically, like the guy in this video is kind of a failure in nature because he created an opportunity where, his wife was allowed to be confronted by this guy who, if you know his background, is pretty scary. Well, I just assume all men are scary, at least to my partner, right? So I don't know. Out of respect for another man's manhood, I'm not going to confront his wife. That's just that to me that's diabolical. That's just insidious. But also the man in this video is super diabolical. Like this guy is a serial killer sociopath in the show. Um, but yeah, no, I mean, there's so many combos that could happen, right? I'm just going to talk to the father. And again, because of modernity, like the reactions are not simple. In the old world, he would have like been like, my son is blah, 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 right? And, the other end, he's just going to, uh, you know, it's going to be a confrontation, but that's good, right? That's how me and how me and my son's bully's father become friends, right? Men bond emotionally through violence. It's very important for us, and because of the lack of violence, I think there's been a genuine lack of emotional bonding between men, and yeah, and the way women emotionally bond has never been condemned by society. So women tend to have more stronger emotional bonds than men because we basically our laws and our culture exist to make men miserable and sad, which is why it's not socially acceptable to essentially challenge someone to an honor duel or whatever, or even then avoid the situation altogether where like two sons are in a situation where it could just be avoided easy, right? With a daughter, that's basically what I'm trying to say is when I have a daughter, if that happens, if she's being bullied, right? I'm going to send my wife, my future wife, I'm going to send her to talk to the mother, right? I'll always be in the area in case the woman, is a petty bitch and gets her husband involved. Then I'll be beside her. I'm not going to just send her off alone, right? Because there is a million things that could go wrong, right? No. No, always be prepared to make someone else, make someone else's kids an orphan, right? I'm just saying, right? You don't want that. You don't wish that on people. I was in a situation where I could have lost my life, and I pulled out a gun and shot it in the air past someone's head, and I avoided shooting them in the head because I thought to myself, I don't want to be the reason why someone has to bury their son or daughter, or in the other case, I don't want to be the reason why someone has to grow up without a father. I don't want to be that kind of guy. But for the sake of your kids, always be prepared to turn those little fuckers into orphans, right? I'm just saying, right? Because you don't know other people's states of mind. If you approach it with optimism, you're going to be the reason why your kids are orphans, right? So I'm just saying, but yeah, no, it's super fucked up to like talk to the woman, right? And realistically, like, oh man, I plan on training my woman to fight, right? To be a little more vicious, right? Because she's let people really fuck with her, and I'm like, This is not how you exist in nature. You don't go on the offensive in nature. I've said to my love, I've said to her, stay in the compound, in the clan, right? In the tribal compound, in the longhouse, you're not off to hunt or fight a war, right? But also, you're the primary defense when we fail. So, and you have to be prepared to do the hunting and go to war, right? It's the same reason why, for instance, in World War II, in a past life, right? Whenever we caught female combatants, we'd shoot them in the head. And I agree with this, right? This was an old practice in World War II where countries that were more patriarchal, they were disgusted by seeing Soviet soldiers, or female rebels, because that's a corruption of femininity. Why would you ever respect a regime that would send its own women off to die, And I'd shoot random female POWs in the Western side, but and that was the thing with the SS and the Wehrmacht. You were very much against rape and stuff like that, and you knew how men were, and if anything, you were protecting the women from that, right? And that's just a thought, and it's like, yes, I'd rather shoot. I would absolutely shoot a female POW in the head, right? But that's the thing, though. I would, it's those same people, that same culture that also trained their women to fight in the Battle of Berlin because all the men were dead, right? So that's just my mentality, right? How I think, what I consider honor, So I don't know. As far as woman on woman, yeah, no, I basically, if we knew the woman was a petty bitch, I'd basically just send my fiance, my future wife, to beat the shit out of the girl's mother, right? I mean, that's ultimately at the end of the day. But again, we don't live in civilized society. We live in modernity. So what's going to happen is, the cops are called, and, me or my wife will get in trouble, unfortunately, right? In civilized society, everything is okay, right? The police would be like, oh, well, okay. They saved us taxpayers' money. They settled the dispute like adults. And right. But, it's like people have this petty passive-aggressive nature, which is, seen in this video. But no, this whole situation's fucked up. He shouldn't have been the one to do this.
Okay, well, can you talk to her and find out? Because I don't think my daughter's going to lie about it.
How did you get my address?
Look, love, I'm not here to cause problems.
Don't call me love, mate.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, it's funny. I call my fiance love. See, yeah, everything he does, even when he's trying not to be intimidating, is intimidating. He knows it, she knows it, because this is the wrong social dynamic. This is not how he's basically cuckolding this woman's husband. That's just dishonorable male behavior. That's not manly behavior. That's, in my opinion, a feminine, boyish behavior, right? Like this, I don't know. The woman in this video is more of a man than he is. He looks like a sniveling twat, a bald one too, which probably doesn't help his case.
What? Do you think you scare me or something coming around here?
I'm not trying to scare you.
I'm going to go inside now.
You see, she would look good with a shiner and a broken nose. And my woman would look good with brass knuckles, Yeah. Now, here's the thing. If the situation's reversed and I have a daughter, right? How do I put this, right? If we were for instance, if my son, right? I don't have a son yet, but I will probably, hopefully one day have plenty. But, or none at all. Who knows? Daughters are fine too. But, not too fine. Stay the fuck away from them. Anyways, the way I imagine is, at least with a son, right? In civilized society, I'd set him up for the duel. I'm gonna be like, you're not going to lose this fight against the kid you're bullying, or else I'll disown you. I probably wouldn't disown him, but it's because I basically I talked to the father. I'd be like, let's arrange a fight between our sons. No one in civilized society is going to agree to that. Or uncivilized society. Rather, we live in an uncivil society where we forgot the basis of which our society was built on, which is blood and strength and power. But anyways, yeah. So realistically, because we live in a world that is governed by insane people, where all our cultural policies are made by insane people, I think the first thing I might do is I'm going to sit down with my son and say, listen, the world is crazy. Ideally, we would set up a fight, right? And even if you won, as a result, that kid would be stronger and you wouldn't be able to bully him. But even then, if he beats you up, that's far more of a potent lesson than if I beat you up, right? And if it still doesn't get through to him, I'm just going to beat the shit out of him. Now with the daughter, though, right? My daughter is the bully. I can't hit her. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a shoe from the shoe rack and beat the shit out of her with a shoe. I mean, I'm not sure. Basically, if there are women subscribed to this channel that are mothers or whatever, leave a comment for what you would do if you share my similar values and sentiments. I'm not sure what it's like on your end, right? I'm just imagining that I'd beat the shit out of my daughter with a shoe. I'd whack her over the head with a random shoe. Like that. I'm just, that's all I can really imagine.
Then I'm going to call my brother. He's a cop.
Yeah, you should have talked to the brother first, right? That changes the entire dynamic, right? Now, she doesn't have a husband or boyfriend, right? She's single mother. The brother's the next option, right? And I'm not... And technically, it's almost different if she's a single mother and doesn't have anyone. Then that's a situation that needs to be approached with more compassion. But also, you still have to send your female partner, your single dad. Then get somebody else involved. I don't know. Like, everything's so fucked up with this society, right? There used to be simple solutions to simple problems, and everyone had to make everything so much more fucking complicated than it had to be. I just don't understand.
Yeah, now.
Don't be a dickhead.
Afternoon, sir. Are you...
Yeah, no. If I were so I have a sister. I love her very much, even though I hate her. If I were the brother in question in this video, the cop, right? I think my first reaction would be to grab a shoe off the shoe rack and beat the shit out of my sister with a shoe. Or ask her if I can beat the shit out of her with or her daughter with a shoe. Now, here's the thing. I have a cousin named Logan, right? I love Logan very much, He's far more attractive than me. Looks like me. That's the thing. He looks like me if I looked better, right? And when he was like 12, this kid, right? I was 12. I was fat and played video games. This kid had six-pack abs and like climbed up trees and shit and lived out in the country. And then he started playing video games as a teenager and got fat. Now he's like super fucking jacked and muscular. So yeah, and he used to have like the sweetest prepubescent boy voice, right? He was such an innocent little fella. And I see him for the first time in a couple of years, and he walks in the room as tall as me. He's like, yo, what's up? And I'm like, what the fuck? Bro, he's a bro now. What the fuck? Anyways, so his mother, who never gets any free time, she wanted to go to another state with her boyfriend for a concert, and she wanted me to watch him, right? I didn't really care about getting paid. She did pay me, but I don't care. I just wanted to hang out with my favorite cousin, right? He looks like me, he's healthier, and he's just fun to be around, right? Even though I like his sister more because she's actually like an awesome human being, and he was very obnoxious and violent. But I just, out of sheer vanity, he was my favorite cousin because, of course, he's a male that looks like me. Basic sexism. But anyways, um, you know, while she was down there, right? This is just the approach I have to life. Violence is good, and restraint is good, right? Uh, Always ask questions, shoot later, but when you shoot, always hit the mark, right? Um, I just wanted to hang out with him, play Fortnite or whatever. I made us food, and he was being obnoxious and violent towards his stepbrother, whose name is also Logan, right? Which is funny that we called them L1 and L2, and basically he wouldn't stop being violent, and I'm like, Logan, I love you. I came here because I wanted to hang out with my favorite cousin, right? I thought this was going to be a good, fun couple of days. Play video games, eat pizza, hang out, right? Maybe go swimming, something like that, right? There was a marina down the street, and I'm like, listen, you're starting to really fucking piss me off. And if I have to, I'm going to fucking spank you. I'm going to literally throw you over my knees, right? And I'm going to spank your ass, not your bare ass because that would be gay. But I'm gonna fucking spank the shit out of you if you don't start behaving, right? And you see, his mother is kind of a pushover, or was kind of a pushover. She's gotten better now. And I don't know. The first thing she would do is react with violence, which led to his behavior problems being behavior problems, I guess. And yeah, no, she would always choose violence as the first resort, and that really messed up his behavior. I think children, in my opinion, benefit off of positive reinforcement more, but because we say they need positive reinforcement, we do let them get away with bloody murder, and we just end up rewarding them for bad behavior, right? It's like, oh, we need to reward them for good behavior, but what you do is you don't do that. Because if you always reward them, so thus they don't have any good behavior worth rewarding, and you're just giving them constant positive reinforcement. So my thing is, he knows that I don't want to commit violence against him, right? And because violence is not my first resort against him, he respects me more than his mother. So when I do commit violence against him, he is going to feel disappointed in himself, right? It's going to hurt more mentally than the physical act of someone he respects doing that, and it's going to give him some introspection, and that's at least what it was like for me. So I told him, right, and you got to be very firm, as some people will be like, all right, I'll give you 3 chances or 1 chance, but then that becomes the 20th chance, because who wants to beat up an 11-year-old boy, right? Or I think he might have been a few years older, right? Maybe he was maybe he was 13. I think he was 13, 14, I don't know. But after Logan just kept being violent with his brother, I literally I actually, before I do that, I call his mother and I'm like, "Listen, hey Aunt Boo, I'm going to spank the shit out of your son, right? I'm not even asking for permission, right? I'll deal with the consequences when you get home. I don't care what the repercussions are. There's nothing, even if you say I'm not allowed to spank your son or whatever it is, I'm going to do it anyways. So I'm just letting you know out of respect." And she was like, her reaction was the best reaction. She was like, "Oh, all right. Sorry, it had to get to that point." And I'm like, "Yep." And then I hang up. And I grab Logan and I throw him over my knees. And I fucking, like, I'm a 6'2" dude. This kid's like maybe like what? Like almost 5 foot. A little shorter. I throw him over my legs and I spank the fuck out of him, right? And after it's done, he's like he's like, I'm going to call the cops. And I'm like, good, they can babysit you instead. And he just waddles back to his room. The next few days were cool. We were playing Fortnite, right? So I don't know. Like, there is a delicate tightrope to walk with children. But at some point, things become pretty clear, right? But there's so many things that are not lost on me that where I'm thinking this is just how things go, to where people flies right over their heads. And I'm like, wow, this world is so fucked.
Ray Shoesmith?
I don't answer questions. Can I help you?
We're looking for a Ray Shoesmith. Does he live here?
I don't answer questions.
Okay, is there somebody here who can answer questions?
I don't answer questions.
Okay, I don't really know how to respond to that, sir.
We just spoke to a woman by the name of Petra Jenkins. She says you threatened her and tried to menace her.
Yeah, see, and that's another thing, right? Women will say, oh, well, I can handle things just the same as a man, right? Really, that's not true. You know it's not true. You'd rather deal with the you know, the mother, the wife, right, than the husband, because you know that it's not even her being manipulative. If I did this and it's like, yeah, no, I mean, my presence as a man is menacing. That's kind of why we exist. We are menacing. We are literally designed to kill, to chop up bones, to stab organs, to fucking break skulls in, right? We are built physically the way we are to kill and not only cause violence, but as much violence as possible, because that's a good thing, right? So who in their right mind thinks it's a good idea to send the father to talk to the, you know, the mother of the girl, right? Who the fuck thinks that's a good idea? That's crazy.
Did she?
Yeah. You got anything you want to say about that?
I don't answer questions.
Would you mind telling us why?
I don't answer questions.
Okay.
See ya.
We'll come back later. Friendly chat.
Ironically, like, this is the kind of guy to where I'm like thinking, in this case, he's the one that did everything wrong in this situation, right? The woman of the mother of the bully did absolutely nothing wrong. And I'm not defending women. I'm just saying there are ways to have your house win over someone else's house. Your clan being supreme over another. This is not the way.